CFB, Wildcat Media, Wildcat Esports, Late, SAC, Res Life, and Student Council. Cool. All right. Moving on to the approval of minutes and agenda, starting with the agenda for today. Is there any discussion? CFB. Of old business? All right. We have a motion to move Bill. Could you repeat it again? To the top of old business. So, point of order, it is a new business. It is a new business. All right. We have a motion to move to the top of new business, Bill 2526-06. Is there a second? Second by Senator Cortez. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we'll go into voting. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 5-0-0. Alrighty, back into the discussion of the agenda as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Our audience member.
-01 editorial amendments is listed at the top of old business, but last week it was tabled back to the author. Should it not be under new business, given that it was tabled back to the author and has to be reintroduced to the floor? I'm going to yield to our secretary for clarification.
So it was tabled back to the author and then resubmitted. Our policy procedure has no clear guideline of if a bill is tabled and then resubmitted, if it should go back to new or old. So I decided it should be back into old business, as again there's no clear outline and there were changes made to it. I yield.
Given that there were changes made to it, shouldn't it then be in new business, because you're changing the bill that you introduced? You could have effectively rewritten the entire bill and just kept the same name and title, and now it's in old business, and rather than taking 2 weeks, 1 week for reading and 1 week for voting, it only takes 1 week for reading and voting, no matter the amount of changes that were made. To me, it seems a little more logical that it would reside in new business, given that it was introduced as a new bill this week. I understand it was originally introduced way back when, but given it was tabled back to the author, my understanding is it's been customary to place it under new business. I yield. Yields back to the secretary.
It's still the same bill number, and then it was resubmitted through that, so that's why I put it in there too. If they feel to move it, Senate is welcome to make the motion to it.
Senator Candela?
Can I make a motion to move, what was the number on that bill, sorry?
It was 2526-01.
Can I make a motion to move 2526-01 to new business under the secretarial resolution?
All right, we have a motion to move 2526-01 underneath resolution number 2526-01. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Cortez. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we will go into voting. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 5-0-0. Alrighty, is there any further discussion for the agenda as a whole? Audience member.
I was wondering if this is better to be discussed during the resolution itself, please just let me know. But resolution number 2526-01 seems to go contrary both to the Student Government at Utica Constitution and the policies and procedures. So I was wondering if it'd be possible to remove that from today's agenda. I'll offer that up to the Senate, and I'll yield back to our secretary if they still have anything to add.
I will say that this will be for better discussion during the resolution as itself. Is there any further discussion? Our secretary.
I'd like to request a motion to add resolution 2526-XX to the table to the agenda after the bottom of new business.
We have a motion to add is there a name for this resolution?
The name for the resolution is TikTok on the Clock.
All right, we have a motion to add TikTok on the clock, resolution number 2526-XX. Do we have a so heard? So heard by Senator Cortez. Senator Cortez. Do we have a second? Sent by Senator Candela. All right, is there any discussion on this, our audience member?
Just a request, if it's possible to get a paper copy or a digital copy for the audience members, that would be absolutely fantastic. That's all. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Point of information, what does the resolution cover?
The resolution covers placing clocks around campus.
All right.
Field.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll be going to voting at adding resolution 2526-XX to the bottom of new business. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 5-0-0. Alrighty, back into the agenda as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, does anyone disapprove unanimous consent? Seeing no objection, that passes 5-0-0. Moving on to the meeting minutes of 9/4/2025. Is there any discussion for the minutes? Our audience member.
My understanding is that last week these were tabled back to the author because there were some capitalization inconsistencies and missing votes. A lot of those issues still seem to be present. I understand that the missing votes are possibly just lost to time because the recording was not adequate enough to find those votes, but I still think these minutes are a little problematic and could use just small tweaks for improvement. I would be happy to elaborate if wished. Thank you.
Our secretary.
Could you elaborate on some specific things in the minutes?
I don't have a paper copy of those minutes, unfortunately, but there was just some inconsistent capitalization. Senator Zapata's last name is not capitalized within the minutes, even though all others are capitalized. The senator as a title is capitalized in almost every instance, but the president's title is not capitalized. That's what's immediately coming to mind. I'd have to get back to you on that for more specifics if you want it. Yields back to the secretary.
Capitalization falls under House rules.
My understanding is that's for legislation, not for agendas and minutes. Some clarification from the Chief Justice would be nice to have on that, but I don't think it's actually inclusive of all documents. I yield.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Fisher? All right. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Sorry, our Treasurer Battisti.
Under Bill 2526-02, motion to accept the secretary position in respect of $600 stipends. That's supposed to be $650. I yield.
All right. Is there any? Sorry, did you say motion to? Okay. Is there any further discussion for those minutes? Senator Cortez.
02 to say 650.
All right, we have a motion to change the dollar amount from 600 to 650. Is there a second? Second by Senator Zapata. All right. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing Fisher, are you raising your hand? Seeing none, we'll go into voting for the amendment. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 5-0-0. Back to the minutes as a whole. Senator Fisher.
Change. One sec. Let me pull up the correct minutes. Motion to change where it says in the vote approval of minutes and agenda on minutes for the 4th of September, and the minutes August 28th, and it says so moved by Senator Fisher. That is the German spelling. I do not have a C. I would wish that we could change that to the English spelling, which is Fisher. I yield.
Was that a motion? Okay, we have a motion to change it from Fisher with a CH to Fisher with an SH. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Candela. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, does anyone oppose unanimous consent? Seeing no opposition, that passes. Back into the motion as a whole for the minutes of the September 4th. Is there any further discussion for the minutes? Senator Fisher.
Please have our last audience member please come up and repeat some of the changes that need to be made.
I believe you covered all of them. The only additional one that comes to mind is that Senator Zapata's name was not capitalized, his last name, and that the title of president was not capitalized despite the fact that most of the titles are capitalized insofar as motions and that sort of thing goes. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Senator Fisher.
Motion to, in Bill 2526-02, change motion by Senator Fisher to capital S, Senator, as well as in the motion, the second by Senator Zapata, capitalize Zapata to capital Z. And where is
All right,
Right.
we have a motion to do these corrections within, which is the capitalization of senator within Bill 2526-02 and the capitalization of Zapata within same bill, second motion. Do we have a second? Second by Senator Cortez. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Oh, seeing Senator Zapata. We have an amendment to the motion by Senator Fisher to correct.
keep what we're doing,
Yeah.
but also add on top of that to change where is it? Is it in multiple spots? Can I ask that question? Point of information. Is it in multiple spots that it has two T's?
And also, yeah.
Okay, so in the motion of Bill 2526-02, to change the two double T's to a single T, and also within the motion to call to question near the bottom, or the last motion before the adjournment, to change that to a single T.
Before I hear this, our advisor.
I would say that under your House rules, it does give the ability for the Chief of Staff or Secretary to make grammatical amendments, as long as they do not affect the meaning or purpose of a bill. I
All
yield.
right. Okay, so I will now hear the motion. The motion is to update Senator Zapata's mention within the minutes to have two T's. Or
Motion and my amended motion,
all right.
and can we at least get the update version with those changes before it's approved?
Are you saying as in send it out correctly right now?
Mm-hmm.
Our secretary.
It'll take me seconds to go through and make all those corrections too. If you would like, I could just table this back and send it back with all those little House rule corrections. It's up to you.
Can I motion to split the minutes vote? To
Under what
approve
purpose?
either minute so it gets time to have the other one sent out?
I'm not going to hear that as under House rules. He can just change these anyways.
Then I'm
Senator Fisher.
motion to table minutes of September 4th, 2025 back to the author.
We have a motion to table back to author. Is there a second? Second by Senator Candela. In the discussion of tabling back, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will now vote. All those in favor of tabling back to the author, please raise your hand. All those who oppose, all those who abstain, that passes. It will be tabled back to the author. A vote of 5-1-0. All right, on to the minutes of last meeting. Is there any discussion? Our audience member.
I see that there's a couple motions right after or during the approval of minutes and agenda, and it says passes by unanimous consent, but it doesn't actually state the vote. I understand, looking later at the minutes, that there were 5 senators in attendance, but given that senators are able to leave the room at times and come back, it's not clear to me how many people actually voted during those motions. Some clarity in that respect insofar as listing what the vote total actually was, I think would be great to have. And there's a typo under old business. It says motion to table Bill 2426-01 to author. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Bill 2526-01. That's what immediately comes to mind. With regards to our advisor's comment about House rules, the exact quote from our House rules is that the Chief of Staff or Secretary has the power to change grammatical errors as long as they do not affect the meaning or purpose of the bill Given that this is under House rules, I think it's reasonable to assume that this refers to legislation and not documents as a whole. If it referred to documents as a whole, then we would not even need Bill 2526-01 that gives the Secretary power to fix grammatical mistakes within our documents. I'm going to yield to our Secretary.
So on the unanimous consent, sir, unanimous consent is not a roll call vote. The only requirement by policy for the listing of Senate votes is under a roll call vote. Unanimous consent is not a roll call vote. Therefore, it does not require the listing of Senator names. I yield.
Our audience member.
For clarification, then, was a roll call vote conducted within the voting of Bill 2526-03? Because I do see it splits up the yeas, the nays, and the abstains. It does it for that vote, but it does it for no other motion or vote within the agenda that I can see. I was at the meeting last week. I don't recall there being a roll call vote. If that's just a lapse in my memory, please let me know. I yield back to our Secretary.
So only added the senator names to the votes that I'm able to confirm that I actually have their vote for. There are a couple, because I was online reviewing the recording, due to positioning of the cameras, I was unable to see who voted for what. So in those instances, I left out the names because I cannot confirm who voted for what. Only in instances that I'm able to confirm who voted for what, I included that. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the minutes of last meeting? Seeing none, we'll be going into voting on the minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that passes 5-1-0. Alrighty, moving on to announcements. There are no announcements. Moving on to our guest speaker, Vice President of External Relations and Chief of Staff at SUNY Polytechnic Institute, Wayne Westervelt.
Answer any questions you may have. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. So let me start by just saying that semester is off to a great start. I don't know if the students have heard that SUNY Poly has achieved a record-breaking incoming class this year. So between first-year students and transfer students, we are at 800 students, and that breaks a record. That's an all-time high. As someone who oversees our marketing communications operation here on campus, I'm delighted to hear that. A lot of our digital marketing efforts, a lot of the efforts from our enrollment management team, but really what we all do together collectively to promote the place, tell the story of SUNY Poly, and we often do that through our students. Your successes, your experiences, and that of our alumni and the amazing things they're doing, not only in the region and the state, but across the globe. So, you know, I bring that up because I think it's something that we should always collectively celebrate. This is our institution. And when we see growing interest in students who want to be here, that's something we should all be pretty proud of. So it's my pleasure to share that really good information with the student leadership. This week we are almost toward the end, but of the College of Business Week. You know, I'll share with all of you. You're like, well, wait a minute, is this a new thing? So the president and the leadership team throughout the summer thought, why don't we celebrate our colleges and our research enterprise with theme weeks throughout the academic year. So this week is College of Business. In October, we'll have a Research and Innovation Week. In November, it'll be Health Sciences Week. Next semester, in March, it'll be Arts and Sciences Week. So We encourage you to keep an eye on some things, keep an eye on Wildcat Weekly to see where you might slide into some of these events. But something we're pretty proud of within the President's Cabinet is the interdisciplinary nature of these weeks. So, for example, you may not be a business student, but there's intentional efforts to make sure that the programming applies to all majors, all colleges. That's our approach here, interdisciplinary. So you're stronger students when you graduate and when you go on to do wonderful things. The culmination of College of Business Week is tomorrow. We actually have a ribbon cutting. We'll have elected officials here, community leaders. We hope many of you students will come and attend the ribbon cutting. That is to celebrate the official launch of the NYSTEC Business Center of Excellence here at SUNY Poly. So we've raised close to $1 million to create the center. It's a named center, hence NYSTEC. And the center will serve as a vital hub for innovation, entrepreneurship, and interdisciplinary education. So if you're interested in attending, you'll get a great tour. We have an AI trading room that really is state-of-the-art for students to engage in real-world financial market simulations, business ethics initiative, entrepreneurship and innovation lab, and hub. So those are just a few of the things. And again, tomorrow will be a great celebration. We'll have elected officials, the mayor, the assemblywoman is presenting a certificate, and again, great visibility and celebration for SUNY Poly. And again, I think all of you know this weekend is Wildcat Homecoming Weekend. A lot of activities. I won't labor over all the events planned, but I encourage you to come out and take part in some of the activities and enjoy yourself. I could go on and on, but I won't. I'd rather open the floor up for questions on anything from the strategic plan, branding efforts, our new Office of Workforce Development. So with that, I'll open up the floor for questions. I noticed you first.
Do you have a timeline for the campus center renovations?
You know,
Sorry.
Sure, it was me. So I don't have a timeline. I can tell you that as part of our strategic plan efforts, and as Chief of Staff, I oversee the strategic plan and, quite frankly, the assessment of that. And in the next 2 weeks, we have periodic report outs to ensure that the strategic plan document isn't just some document on a shelf. So we're looking very closely at that. The last I had heard, we're on schedule. I can tell you that the basketball teams will be playing in the campus center this fall. So that at least gives you a sense for where that particular project is moving forward. The marketing communications team was very busy over the course of the summer working with the construction company and the architect firm to make sure we branded, we had life and excitement and some SUNY Poly pride within the confines of the building. But all indications are that we're moving along on schedule. So I know we had a senator question, and then I'll come back to the audience floor.
Event tomorrow? You did not specify a time.
I didn't give you the time. 2 p.m. people start gathering. The actual spoken portion of the program is 2:30 to 3:30. We have quite a few speakers, including some students. So I always like to point that out. This isn't just all the suits getting up there and talking. Students that were part of a business plan competition and some other key initiatives. So event starts at 2, refreshments. 2:30 to 3:30 is the spoken, and then we'll do a ribbon cutting and have some tours of the facilities over in. And the event starts in the basic CGAM lobby in Donovan. So thank you for asking. Appreciate that. Question from the audience.
Just out of curiosity, because I know is this what the Makos Lab's being moved, renovated into? Because I know the Makos Lab is getting renamed and renovated.
Yes, the Makerspace. I think that's a new name, or maybe not. But yes, the Makerspace. And let me just make sure I want to get the right funder of that. I believe it's First Source. Yes, First Source. So that is part of it. There'll be a ribbon cutting there and a tour of the new makerspace area as well. So, great. Any other questions? Yes.
During our meeting with the president, he mentioned having students organizing themselves to work with the AI initiatives and work with stock building, AI stock portfolio sort of things. And he mentioned wanting our participation. How do you think we could actually help with that?
Yeah, I mentioned the AI trading room and some of these financial market simulations. I don't have a direct answer to your question, but what I can say is faculty member Jim Stahar is the executive director of the Business Center Excellence. He's going to be a critical person to work with students and align those learning, experiential learning opportunities. So please reach out to Jim. And if you're there tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be many folks that are excited to learn of your interest. But again, we're excited. And again, we're doing this so we can provide our students with real learning, real life, real world learning experiences. It reminds me of something I mentioned earlier, our new Office of Workforce Development, which will be under the External Relations Division that I oversee. Something worth sharing is that Career Services, which was a direct line to students, especially as it related to internships, that Career Services is now a part of the Office of Workforce Development. So that used to be under Student Affairs. It is now under External Relations. But I just want to make sure students know that will not change the service and the opportunities that it provides to students. In fact, I'm really excited to share with you all that we're putting added focus and attention on internships, specifically with it being part of external relations, reaching out more aggressively to industry partners and businesses that can host our students for internships. You may or may not know that those internships usually turn into career job offers and opportunities. So we're really looking to strengthen that linkage for our students with industry partners and provide more opportunities for all of you. So if you hear that, don't think it's a bad thing, right? Because you would hear, oh, it's not part of student affairs. They may not think of that important side of it. That is not that. It's the opposite. We're really trying to advance our internships, create a more centralized process, market internship opportunities to you and your faculty members, so that you're connected and taking advantage of these wonderful opportunities. So, okay. Nothing else. Again, I thank you all for inviting the president, and I thank him for letting me stand in for him. We look forward to keeping in touch with student government.
Includes guest speakers. So moving on to executive reports, starting with President Lou Naharo.
Good morning, everybody. If you have applied for a director position or a chief of staff position, we're currently still going through the interviews, so the results may delay a little bit. There's been a few scheduling conflict when it comes to the interviews, so I hope you can all understand. Thank you. I yield.
Vice President report. Hello, everyone. It has been a busy week of voting and working on bills and resolutions. The election has concluded, and the results of the election are as follows. The senators who are elected for the first year are Preston Gillis, Matthew Rose, and Adam Capo. The senators for the junior senators are Jasmine Ludewan and Matthew Fisher. And the senator for a graduate position is Priscilla Nowak. For those who are elected, please stay until open forum to be sworn in. Thank you. Our Treasurer Battisti.
Hello, everybody. I'm in the process of hiring my vice treasurer. I just wanted to say there's a lot on the agenda today, and I know some of the material may be a little controversial, so I'd like to remind the Senate and the audience to try to maintain a calm and respectful tone in today's meeting. Thank you. I yield.
Secretary Mavros.
When in person again, keep this very brief. Actually, that's pretty much it. All my speech was last week, so thank you for being secretary. Looking forward to seeing what guys happens. So I yield.
Chief Justice Wu.
Report.
Moving on to committee reports. There are no active committees, so moving on to organization reports, starting with Web.
Week of web events. We hosted Squid Games last night with an astounding amount of students attending and the participation. We're so happy to keep breaking attendance records. Last night we had around 110 students, and our maximum last year was like 55 students, so that's an insane jump. Today, once again, we have our free bowling at Kingpin Lanes, if you check our Instagram for more details. This weekend is also homecoming weekend, and on Saturday at 8:30 on the lawn, Web is hosting the Wicked movie. Also, we have another free event coming up on the 27th. Web is hosting a Utica Zoo Day, and you can see Engage for more information. I yield.
All right, CFB.
Hey everyone, so CFB and my board has been particularly busy trying to get activation funding all set for all our clubs so they can start resuming their normal processes. On top of that, we have our bylaw update on the table again, and I'm pretty sure that me and the Vice President Chaput were able to address every concern. And then we are also finishing up training for all the club executives, so everything should be in full motion within the coming weeks.
All right, Wildcat Media.
Hi, so Wildcat Media is going to be very involved in this weekend's homecoming activities. Come join us and the Hip Hop Club for live music at Wildcat Fest from 12 to 4. They did not promote it that well, so there will be live food, free beer for students over 21, as well as just lawn games, different clubs showing exhibitions. There also is going to be music by not only our students, but as well as a professor band. So if you want to see professors sing, come. It's supposed to be pretty fun, and then Wildcat Media is also assisting Web with the Wicked Movie Night, and we are also going to be assisting Baja with the car show. That will be Sunday, September 28th at 11 a.m. Please come. I yield.
Wildcat Esports.
Hello everyone, Wildcat Esports is going well. Teams are running and are already hosting their own practices and scrimmages with games starting the end of this month. In addition, event planning is getting fully fleshed out with our first Smash Weekly this Sunday. And Wildcat Esports will also be helping out on homecoming weekend with Mario Kart on Sunday, September 20th from 12 to 4 on the lawn.
Alrighty, that concludes reports. Moving into old business, starting with Bill 2526-04. Please, Senator Velez.
Motion to accept Bill number 2526-04.
We have a motion, second by Senator Fisher.
We the Senate of the SUNY Poly Student Government and Utica enact as follows. Update web bylaws to better fulfill web operations.
All right, moving into discussion of the bill. Is there any discussion? Webb.
Appendix A from Bill 2526-04 as it has already been discussed.
We have a motion to remove the Appendix A, which is the contracts for all those who need to know, seconded by Senator Candela. Moving to discussion on the amendment to the bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go into voting. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 6-0-0. Back into the bill as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Our audience member.
Small note. I'm looking at the web policies and procedures, and I see that under Article 2, the numbering begins with 2.0.0. My understanding is that we follow a not a zero-based, but a one-based numbering system, so we begin with 1, and then we go forth as it were. I understand the Secretary is able to correct this. I just thought I'd bring it up so everyone's aware. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Senator Fisher.
Where was that occurring? I do not see that.
Oh, point of information, it's under Policies and Procedures section and then Article 2. Order of business. All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into voting on the bill as a whole. All those in favor of the bill? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? Yes, we can revote. All those in favor of the bill as a whole, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain? That passes 6-0-0. Alrighty, moving on to new business, Bill 2526-06. Give me a quick second. Apologies. Senator Cortez.
Motion to accept Senate Bill 2526-06.
A motion seconded by Senator Velez. You may continue.
Represented in the Senate do hereby enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to update the CFB policies and procedures to better fulfill CFB, SGU, and club operations.
All right, moving to discussion of the bill. Is there any discussion? Our audience member.
With regards to, just to clarify, we're on CFB bylaws?
Correct.
I got a little mixed up the agenda. Under the requirements for clubs, it states that requirements have been changed to semesterly, yet the Ocelot has an annual requirement. As it stands, this means that if they only activate for one semester, they would not even be subject to that requirement. I'm just wondering if we could get some thoughts from our CFB representative about that. Thank you.
CFB.
So we are trying to make the life of the clubs easier, and with the semesterly for the higher levels, we wanted to split it up so they didn't have to cram, and just to make them even so the levels have actual different amounts of tiers for what level they are, we decided to make that one annually, as Puma already has one event or one community service per semester. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
All right. Before
My
you begin,
apologies.
I'm going to pass the chair over to the president. Will you accept the position?
I will accept the position.
All right.
Our audience member.
Other thing I just wanted to bring up with regards to the CFB line transfer form, I see that it's missing a spot for the SGU treasurer and SGU advisor. The SGU advisor per SUNY policies is required to sign off or rather review every single financial transaction. The SGU treasurer per our financial policy is required to approve every single financial transaction. Excuse me. That's all.
Vice President Shapiro.
All right. So when we were going over this, we had a discussion with John Reel, the advisors, myself, and CFB, and we have updated both finance policy and CFB's policy to mirror this new thing. Along with this, the actual bylaws within the SGA do not cover anything about the SGU the SGU advisor or treasurer to have to sign off on these things. So we've been given the clear by the necessary parties to use this form. I yield.
Our treasurer.
And just an extension of that, this is kind of to cut through the red tape, make the club's lives a bit easier. There's one less chain of approval, essentially, that they need to go through. Regardless of if it goes through the treasurer, it still has to be reviewed by the auxiliary. It just takes one extra step out. I yield.
Our audience member.
First, just some clarification for our Chief Justice. Every audience member is given 5 minutes to speak per piece of legislation, not 5 minutes for the entire meeting. Second, with regards to what our treasurer said, I agree it absolutely reduces the red tape, but it's required per financial policy currently. If you go to Part A of financial policy, you look at the treasurer's duties, it says that they have to sign off on every single financial transaction. That's just in there, it's black and white. If you go to SUNY policies, SUNY Mandatory Fiscal and Accounting 4, this is the SUNY document that outlines the restrictions for all student governments that operate at SUNYs. It states that the campus president or their designee must certify the budget, and they must also review every single financial transaction. It says review. Does that mean they have to approve it before it happens? I would argue yes. I agree it's not necessarily black and white, but I would imagine almost any lawyer would state that that means their approval needs to be in there somewhere. I recognize that the auxiliary is still signing off, but these are our policies, and I think we have to follow them. I yield.
Our audience member.
I noticed a couple of concerns with this. I'm just going to be doing it all at once, just that way, if that's okay with everyone, if I can just bring them all up at once. Just the first thing I just wanted to ask about is I noticed that part of this update, it allows the CFB board to freeze clubs without going through the Senate. And personally, I feel like that is a tiny bit of an overreach, especially since also CFB, I understand when it was there for unfreezing, like when I was talking about bringing in that in for unfreezing, because sometimes the Senate moves slow and it's bad to keep a club frozen for an extra week because the bill wasn't reached to, because there was another bill that took the entire meeting or something like that. So I feel like it's a bit of an overreach to go around the Senate instead of, like, you know, following the current policies procedures. And it also kind of prevents what leads to, because last semester we had the issue, last 2 semesters actually, where meeting minutes were being submitted on Engage but weren't going through the CFBs for some reason. Sorry. But and that was another reason why we had it go to the Senate first instead of just having CFB be allowed to freeze clubs on their own, was because otherwise those concerns wouldn't be brought up, and then we also couldn't have the actual clubs speak to CFB and appeal the freezing before the freezing went through, if that makes sense. And that's one of the reasons why we had it, so CFB had to go through the Senate. I also don't know why we're doing that just for freezing and we're not adding that into unfreezing, because unfreezing still requires a Senate, and that means a club can theoretically be frozen for like weeks on end if it just never gets to there because we're talking about the budget or something again that takes up the entire time. And then the only other thing I want to just ask about is community I appreciate now that we have like the actual reason sheet on here, but the community contribution part of it builds positive reputation for the college. I feel like that's a bit too biased of a reason, because some clubs can physically not build positive reputation for the college. I mean, they can build negative, but like they can't really build positive because, for example, how is Magic the Gathering Club gonna build a positive reputation for the campus unless they host like tournaments that have off-campus people coming in to play Magic or something? Because, you know, otherwise it's just a club playing Magic, and so they'll never be able to meet a 5 or even anything above a 0 in that category, because otherwise how are they going to build that reputation? Or how is improv club, a club I'm part of, how's that supposed to build reputation? Because we do improv, yes, we can do improv shows, but then again, we're probably not even going to have many people on campus go to see those, let alone people off campus, and therefore if we request extra funding to try and host one of those shows, it could be denied simply because of the fact that we don't, quote-unquote, contribute enough to the college reputation and marketing. In my opinion, I just don't think the college's reputation and its marketability should be a part of funding, and the reason why funding gets denied, because clubs are not markets. Yes, they can do marketing for the school, but the main purpose is not to market for the school. That's what the school's marketing department's for. I yield.
Our advisor.
It mentions builds a positive reputation for the college, just like you all are doing right now, just by being appropriate, being presentable, making sure that we're not damaging the college's reputation, right? So even though you're separate from the college, you still are able to utilize their spaces, utilize their resources. So we are a partner in that way. If SGU goes out and slanders the college, that's not what is going to build a positive reputation. by hosting tournaments for our students, creating a good welcoming environment for the college, that is what is building the reputation. So I just wanted to clear that up really quick.
CFB.
Go the first part with the freezing, and I'm going to ask you to restate your issues with the rest because I kind of got lost. I'm sorry, but for 5.1.0, for the disciplinary actions of freezing, so we removed the Senate from that process because the Senates aren't in our meetings. They're not the ones tracking the paperwork. So we decided that to make the process as simple and expedited as possible, that the CFB, who is the one that deals with all the clubs and their paperwork and their training, should be the ones that have the ability to freeze and unfreeze clubs to expedite unfreezing too, which is also said in 5.1. Advisor. So it's not just the executives, it is also
In section 5.1.3, it says this does not revoke the right of SGU Senate ability to freeze the club based on their own judgment. I want to add that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna. I don't know if I should just move on to the next point, if you would prefer that, or.
I mean, yeah, if that's fine.
And that's the other thing was the build's positive reputation for the college requirement. That was the other thing I brought up.
So as our advisor said, it's not really marketing first. Our advisor said you use resources and spaces on campus. So basically that's just kind of a check to be like making sure they're not causing harm to our program because we don't want to fund that because it's just not conducive to our school. So I yield.
Vice President.
First, I'd like to ask our current audience member at the mic, just to restate which section you were talking about earlier when it says the treasurer has to sign off.
Open the financial policy. We're still in the 11th edition. If you go to Part A and then you go to the article, I think it's Section 3, I think. I don't quite recall, but it basically says that the treasurer has the right to review the validity and feasibility of all financial transactions with the advice and criticism of the executive board. I'm paraphrasing here. I do not have it committed to memory. Something along those lines. If you're looking for the SUNY document, if you just search up SUNY mandatory fiscal accounting you'll find it. It should be searchable. I imagine our advisors could also pull it up for you. I did have one final comment on the CFB bylaws update. I noticed that it was changed from 16 business days in a couple of sections to 14 days. My understanding is since extra funding requests and clubs, extra funding requests can be submitted until April 1st, right? Our fiscal year begins June 1st, so that means that if a club submits an extra funding request after activating, say, mid-December, after everyone's gone home for winter break, they need a response in 14 days, even though it's not really during the school year. If CFP is aware of that, obviously that's all good. I just figured I'd mention that because then you need to figure out a situation where you have to have an online meeting and get a lot of people on a call when they're not necessarily available. Final comment, I promise. Article 1, Section 13, it states there shall be a CFB secretary. I'm assuming it's supposed to be 2 CFB secretaries. That's all from me. Thank you.
Or Vice President.
So just to ease up a little bit of the information on the finance policy, I do believe I found the section that you're talking about. However, with the change of how the operations of CFB work within this new update, the treasurer still signs off on the purchases. It's just the fact that when it comes to the line purchases in between for the activation funding, or if you're referring to something else, like that's within CFB, meaning that it's not necessarily going out and like actually purchasing. because CFB still needs to do a purchase request, and that does still go through the treasurer and get signed off.
Our audience member.
You're still making a financial transaction, though, with regards to activation funding, because clubs hold their own accounts. CFB can't decide, hey, we want to purchase something, and then pull it out of jazz and hip hop's budget. They can't take it from Baja, who has 10 grand for whatever reason. That's their club account, right? And the way it's established is CFB can't use that money, so it's gone to a separate entity. Clubs are recognized as separate entities, both from an accounting perspective within their auxiliary services and also just on their own, right? So you're still transferring money from one entity to another, which is a transaction, if that makes sense. I yield.
Any further discussion? Senator Velez.
A motion and to remove in Appendix C on the rubric the and creative part under Part 4, because I believe that brings subjectiveness to this, and yeah.
Motion to remove and creative from the bill. Do we have a second? Senator Fisher.
Second.
Second. We have a motion to remove end part from the bill. Any discussion regarding this motion? Senator Fisher.
Senator Velez, why?
I believe
I yield the
Yeah. And creative is not necessarily defined. You know, creativeness is very subjective. One thing that's creative to someone is not creative to another person, so that brings bias as to those points. I yield.
Or Vice President.
Yeah, so first of all, it's one bullet point. Like, that won't, even if they don't get anything on that one bullet point, they can still get the full amount they ask for just because of the rubric. But along with that, I mean, yes, creativity is definitely subjective, but there's definitely things you can tell when it's creative and when it's not creative. And you don't want a boring event that no one's going to go to, if you get what I mean, and still asking for the full amount of money. I yield.
Any further discussion? CFB.
To change all instances of secretary to secretaries on the bill. Is that possible?
We are currently inside a motion,
My
so
bad.
you can't make a
Never
motion. Our audience member.
I guess, I mean, I don't know if this is really good evidence or not, but for the bill's positive reputation for the club, for the college, I mean, for clubs, I want to cite a Google review of SUNY Poly that involves clubs. Oh, no, it's for the thing. I guess let's wait. Wait until this discussion's over, then discussion on the bills.
Senator Fisher.
Is that word with a different one?
I think a quick Google search can find a bunch of synonyms real quick.
What if we change it to like innovative?
Point of information, we're just in a motion to remove it and not change it.
I'm discussing whether we should remove it or replace it with something.
Okay. Continue.
I yield.
Esports. Senator Velez.
Motion to replace and creative with and engaging, as well as replace a secretary with both secretaries.
We have a motion to replace and creative with and engaging, and replace secretary with secretaries. Do we?
Amendment of the main motion, which would, under House rules, instantly die. you're making amendment on the bill as a whole, and then you're making amendment to your amendment. I yield.
Seriously?
Bill was a motion to change something.
That's an amendment.
No.
We'll go through Senator Velez.
Kaput, motion to change N creative to N engaging, as well as change A secretaries to secretaries.
We're currently still in the motion of just removing N creative.
Didn't it just go kaput though, according to Vice President Chapeau?
Another motion.
Is anybody rescinding the motion and making a new motion? Senator Velez.
I'd like to rescind my motion to make another motion to change N creative to N engaging, as well as A secretaries to secretaries.
We have a motion to change N creative to N engaging and changing secretary to secretaries. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher. Any discussion regarding this motion? Our secretary.
Point of clarity, can you just say that one more time, but a bit slower?
Okay. So we have a motion to remove end creative and replace it with end engaging. And the motion to remove to replace secretary with secretaries.
And innovative, you said?
And engaging.
And engaging.
Yes. Any discussion regarding this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into voting. All in favor? All who are opposed? All who abstain? That's a conclusion of 6-0-0. Our Vice President.
I would like to ask the Senate to make a motion to change CFB faculty to CFB staff.
Moved by Senator Fisher. Is there a second? Senator Cortez, second. Is there a discussion regarding this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into voting. All in favor? All who opposed? All who abstain? The vote comes at unanimous decision. Point of information, are we in a motion right now? Okay. Okay, I'd like to pass the chair back to our Vice President.
I'll accept. All right, our audience member.
Go through this quick. I'm actually not going to read the review, but there was a review on Google Reviews, which I know is not the most reliable source of information, but someone gave the school a 1-star review and transferred out because they saw that there was a Yu-Gi-Oh playing club and too many people playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and to them, just the fact that the club exists gave the club a negative reputation for them. And so I'm trying to say here is clubs and the reputation they apply to the school is subjective to the person who is not in the school viewing the school, if that makes sense. So I feel like this point is like the creative a bit too subjective, because somebody could be like, man, this school sucks because it's full of nerds because there's a tabletop club and a Yu-Gi-Oh club and a Magic club. Or someone could be like, this school rocks because these clubs exist, if that makes sense. And that's why I feel like this should be removed.
Point of information, well, point of clarity to the audience member. This decision isn't being made by an outside source. It's being made by CFB. So are you...
What I'm trying to say is that if CFB thinks it's a positive or not is subjective to what CFB thinks, and it's just subjective. It's like being creative is subjective.
Our advisor, Artigiani.
So this is more of that we internally are creating a positive environment. So this is not cursing, not putting derogatory things in the events. So this is not what outside people, it's the expectation that our internal students, advisors, whoever it is carrying themselves appropriately, and they are not. Whether other people view it that way, I shouldn't be walking into an event and someone is swearing or degrading a particular culture or whatnot. So it's more of how we're carrying ourselves, not what other people appear. So I think we're looking a little bit too far into this.
CFB.
one more thing on top of what our advisor is saying. It's only one bullet point in the entire rubric, so even if you get a 0, it's not going to make or break your funding decision. It's just an extra criteria that we're going to look at when making our entire decision. I yield.
Our audience member.
If you really wanted to be clear, maybe reword it to say don't be like actively negative. If you really want to be clear, if it doesn't really matter though.
All right, just point of information for everyone. The time is now 1:30. We go into open forum in 15 minutes. Anyways, is there any further discussion on the bill? Treasurer Battisti.
For Appendix D, as the audience member mentioned, the student government at Utica Treasurer does have to sign off on it as the current financial policy states. So if we could just entertain a motion to add an SGU Treasurer section to that. I am working on updating the financial policy, so that can be relooked at, but as it states, it does require a signature. I yield.
For the Senate to entertain a motion? So moved.
Okay, so moved by Senator Fisher, seconded by Senator Candela. We are now into the motion to add or to update that section within financial policy. To state your motion, Treasurer Battisti.
The motion isn't to amend financial policy, it's to add a section within Appendix D for the line transfer form to require the SGU Treasurer signature.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's an update on the Appendix D of CFB policies and procedures to add the SGU signature form, SGU Treasurer signature form. Is there any discussion? Our advisor Wadsworth.
So I'll kind of echo what was discussed during the meeting that we had with, again, as CFB had mentioned, CFB, SGU, both Kathy and I were there, and auxiliary services, and we talked a lot about the idea of the club funding board and how they have a strict set of guidelines for the clubs, but yet if a club isn't following them, it has to go to the Senate, and they can't help fund the clubs without the SGU treasurer. And so truly, what is the idea of the club funding board if they're not allowed to actually execute any of these actions without the authority of somebody else? Hence why they did want to remove the SGU treasurer, only because, again, it's one extra step, one other external person that they have to go through for it. Like Vice President Chapeau had mentioned, we could also look to add in another bullet point under this piece of legislation that would amend the financial policy as well, or we could table it a week. But just to throw that out there, I know that this really wasn't the intention of CFB. So I'll leave you all with that. I yield.
Being voted on this way, correct?
No, it is
Okay.
not. We're also still in a motion. We were seconded and so heard. So we are still in the motion on adding this bullet point into, well, not this bullet point, but this section within Appendix D. So is there any further discussion? Our audience member, former treasurer.
To also ask, well, just in response to our advisor for a second, I absolutely understand that reasoning, right? Nobody likes having a bunch of hoops to jump through, but every single organization, whether it be an actual organization or one of our clubs on campus, whenever there's a transaction involved, the SGU treasurer and the SGU advisor has to sign off on it. The latter is SUNY policy, right? We're not going to be able to sidestep SUNY policy, and our financial policy has the treasurer involved in all of these transactions because that's part of our internal control plan, right? Student government is given over $500,000 every single year to be handed out by teenagers and 20-somethings, right? Which is a terrifying thought. So we have to have some internal controls in place. One of those internal controls is the democratically elected treasurer. I'd like to ask for an amendment to the motion to also include the SGU advisor because per SUNY policy, they will have to sign off on all of these transfers as well.
Can I ask what student activity fee document you are referencing and where? I'm going to yield back.
I could not give you the URL at this time, but if you look up SUNY Mandatory Fiscal and Accounting Procedures, if you go to, I believe it's the first section, Part C, when it states the duties of the campus president or their designee, one of those points is they have to certify the operating budget and review all financial transactions. Now, the use of review, maybe they review it after the fact, but it's in there. I yield back to our advisor.
Can I ask which student activity fee policy you're looking at, though?
Do you
There
mind
are
if I
two.
take-
There is one that's document 3901 and 3900.
It's the second one.
3900, 3900, or 3901? Okay, thank you.
Senator Velez.
If you could just say that for the.
Activity fee programs mandatory fiscal and accounting procedures from the Office of University Life of the City Board of Trustees, which I'm going to review right now, even though I reviewed it the other day.
Alrighty. Senator
Can
Velez.
can I so heard on the audience members' amendment?
So just point of information, this would be an amendment on an amendment again. So you can.
Clarification, wasn't the original just a so heard to append SGU treasurer under that section of the CFB line transfer? I'm just curious what the first
yeah.
amendment was.
So the first, so we have the main motion, then we have the amendment in the main motion adding this section to the bill. Then this would be an amendment to said amendment. So that'd be two amendments.
My understanding of legislation, and our advisors would absolutely correct me on this, when a piece of legislation is in discussion, you can motion for changes, and then you can amend your motion for those changes. Is that incorrect? Because that's how Senate business meetings were ran for the entire past year, I believe years past, and I'm just would love some clarification on what specifically you're referring to that overturned.
Absolutely. So, as per Robert's rules, any changes to the documents, which is the main motion, is counted as an amendment. So, even though they're motioning to add this, that's a motion for amendment because you're amending the document. So, I know we've done it wrong in the past years. That is by Robert's rules how that is counted is an amendment. If you're looking to, ask that that be changed for this meeting in House rules, that's totally within your power to ask, but I will be following Robert's rules accordingly, which is amendment on amendment, which is our House rules, not allowed. Correct. But but the motion that he's asking for is an amendment by Robert's rules. So that is an amendment.
I'm curious how this reinterpretation was reached after years of consistency with, I'm just going to yield back to our chair.
I read Robert's rules. Senator Fisher.
I'm rescinding my motion.
Okay, we rescind, so we're back into the main motion as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Senator Fisher.
I motion to table this bill for a week.
We have a motion to table the bill for a week, seconded by Senator Cortez. Is there any further discussion? Senator Fisher.
There are some work that needs to be done on this bill, and I think it'd be beneficial for the Senate to take a week to look at it and see what needs to be improved.
Could I ask which work you're referring to?
Specifically, let me see. One sec. Sorry, my agenda closed out.
All good. Senator Velez.
I think what he's referring to, the two changes that were already made to the bill, and additionally, we're making additional amendments. So, I believe that's what he's trying to.
Senator Fisher.
Either we add it so that it adds the signature of the SGU treasurer and advisor, or we could do what our advisor said and add it so it changes financial policy. I think it would be beneficial. We should discuss which one is more beneficial.
All right. We're still in discussion on the tabling of this bill. Is there any further discussion pertaining to the tabling of this bill? Starting with Treasurer Battisti.
Semi-unrelated, as far as financial policy goes, me and Auxiliary Services, as well as the previous treasurer, have worked very extensively on getting a 12th edition out, so that'll be on the table very shortly. I yield.
Our audience member.
President, I've been working on this bill for quite some time now, is my understanding. It seems like we're making a very small change. We're essentially adding two signatures to one document in an appendix. I don't think it's necessary to table it for a week, especially since it won't even be voted on this week. If I could ask the Senate for an amendment to the main motion that adds the SGU treasurer's signature and date and the SGU advisor's signature and date underneath the CFB president and CFB advisor's date and signature within the line transfer form, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Senator Cortez. So you didn't so move, you seconded.
Seconded, sorry.
Do not believe you can rescind it, no. All right, so we're still in discussion on the tabling. Our audience member.
The only senator who's returning next week is Fisher. Otherwise, it's going to be a completely new Senate. So tabling is, I don't know.
Senator Fisher.
And can someone give me the motion that's people are wanting? Sorry.
Okay, so we have the rescinded motion. We're back into the main motion. Senator Velez.
Yeah.
That motion was just rescinded.
No, he
but we
said
had
a week.
Oh,
Just want to specify, he said a
apologies.
week. I'm saying the author, which can be inconclusive amount of time.
Point of clarity. Senator Fisher, what did you rescind in your motion?
I rescinded the motion to the table for a week. What I meant was end discussion and move on. What I really meant to say was end discussion, move on to the next bill.
Okay, that's a separate motion entirely, but you, for information, you rescinded your motion to table this.
Mhm.
Okay. Senator Velez, you made a motion to table this. Back to the author. Yes. 45, it's 41. 145. What? Pardon? Oh, no, you're good, you're good. All right, so we're in a motion. Is there a second to table this back to the author? Seeing none, that motion dies. Senator Fisher.
Motion to push open forum to 155.
We have a motion to push open forum to 155. Is there a second? Second by Senator Cortez. There's no discussion, so moving into voting. All those in favor of pushing back open forum, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 5-0-1. Okay, so open forum has been pushed back to 155. We're back into discussion of the motion as a whole. Senator Fisher.
The motion to add, so I'm going to do what you, can I have please have the treasurer repeat his motion as well as the amendment to the motion be repeated as well? That was trying to be happening while we were in a motion.
Treasurer Battisti, state your...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the motion was to add under CFB president signature and CFB advisor signature to include the SGU treasurer signature and date as well as the SGU advisor signature and date. I yield.
All right, we have a motion. So heard by Senator. Are you raising your hand for the so heard?
Did you? I didn't think you entertained a motion.
That's what he just did.
No, okay, whatever. So moved.
So moved by Senator Fisher. Is there a second? Second by Senator Ahmed. We're in the discussion of the amendment to add in those two boxes under Appendix D within the line transfer form. CFB.
So, to my understanding, this is going to be on the table next week because we can't vote on it today.
Correct.
Can I just ask if we wait on these amendments and we make those amendments next week before voting? Is that possible?
Senator Fisher.
It's very unlikely we should do that, seeing how I will be the only returning senator with that information. Who would have information on this bill previously? I feel like it would be very unfair if we just put this on, on new senators, because it is a pretty big bill that made a big change. So I yield.
Advisor Wadsworth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this not going to be on the table next week anyway? So regardless, there are going to be a group of new senators looking at this piece of legislation, helping vote on it. So they're going to need to be educated on it anyway, which I know there is intentions and plans of assisting them with. But I just feel like we're thinking a little bit too much into it because everything else on the agenda they're also going to be working on. So this is a great opportunity for them to learn. I don't think we really need to think about it too much. I also, at a quick glance, I will just mention that Kathy and I have both looked through the SUNY student activity fee policies, and we can't find a specific section that designates that the SGU campus president or designee needs to review all financial transactions. There are a lot of internal controls, which we do have. That is what your policies are, is internal controls. So I would say that the SGU advisor signature is not needed. Again, I'll go back to The whole point was so that CFB had a little bit more opportunity to work on themselves as an organization and have a little bit more autonomy to make decisions on their own. There were a lot of instances last year where they would hand them to either myself or the previous advisor or the previous co-advisor, and we wouldn't know what we're signing because we aren't in the meetings. We don't work with the clubs as closely as they might. We don't understand what we're signing, and so it's essentially a blank signature, which should never occur. So to avoid that, that is why those signatures were removed. Same thing. Sorry, Brandon. I don't want to feel like I'm calling you out. The SGU treasurer is far too busy to attend every club funding board meeting, so hence why those were removed. I will echo that again. So if we want to send it back to CFB, if we feel like we need to table it for a week so that we can work on those revisions as well, totally understand, but I just feel like this is kind of partially defeating the purpose of what CFB originally was intending to do. I yield.
Our audience member.
The SUNY document. On SUNY document 3900, under Part C, where it outlines campus president or designee, under Point 2, it states certifying the operating budget and reviewing individual expenditures for compliance with the university policies and procedures. Whether or not expenditures also constitutes financial transactions is a debate for the linguists. I will say that any person, right, irrespective of whether or not they're a staff member, should not be signing off on anything if they are not aware of what it is. I would hope that before you put your signature of approval on anything, you are asking questions and making sure you understand what's behind it. I'm going to yield to our treasurer.
I actually lost my train of thought. I yield.
All right, Senator Fisher.
Seeing how there's a lot of debate right now, I'm going to rescind my motion, and because I think, am I the one who motioned?
You so heard.
Which means I motioned.
Yeah.
Okay, so I rescind my motion. I do think it's beneficial, so I'm going to motion that it's tabled back to the author.
We have a motion to table back to the author. Is there a second? Seeing none, that motion dies. We're back into discussion of the bill as a whole. Senator Treasurer Battisti.
Whether or not the advisor has to be on it, that can be looked into more, but as the financial policy states right now, the treasurer needs to have their signature on it. Once the 12th edition policy is on the table, we can look into adjusting that and then going back to this, but as it stands, it is required. I yield.
All right. Senator Fisher.
On this bill and move to bill number,
it'd be resolution number 2526.
Get the secretary, because I feel that's kind of important.
All right, we have a motion to end discussion. Is there a second? Second by Senator Ahmed. This goes immediately into vote. So all those in favor of end discussion on Bill 2526-06, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain? That passes 4-1-1. All right, on to Resolution 2526. Senator Candela.
Motion to accept Resolution 2526-01.
Do we have a second? Second by Senator Fisher.
We, the Senate of SUNY College Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve, whereas Secretary Mavros has formally announced resignation following the end of the Senate election, and whereas the student government at Utica requires all executive positions to be filled to ensure continuity of operations, and whereas Chief Justice Summer Wu has demonstrated interest, commitment and knowledge of governing documents, making her a quality candidate for secretary. Therefore, be it enacted that Chief Justice Summer Wu be appointed the position of secretary, SGU secretary, effective immediately upon the conclusion of Senate meeting in which this receives Senate 2/3 approval, and enacted that Chief Justice Wu shall assume all responsibilities and duties associated with this position upon the formal appointment, and enacted that this appointment shall serve until the next executive election / special election or until otherwise deemed by SGU policy. Therefore, be it resolved that the SGU Senate approves this appointment by 2/3 vote in accordance with SGU policies and procedures.
All right, moving into discussion, Senator Fisher.
So we limit discussion to 3 questions for the candidate and a bio, and then move into executive session.
We have a motion to limit 3 questions to the candidate in question and then move into executive session on voting. Is there a second? Second, but seeing no second, that motion dies. We're back in discussion of the resolution as a whole. Senator Velez.
I'm back to 2 o'clock. I can't
Cannot do that.
Oh, man.
Our audience member.
With the candidate, just to make sure, I just want to make sure it's not, but isn't it SGU policy that executive positions can only be appointed via special election? And that was the main reason why last semester we ran a special election for vice president. And not only among that, but shouldn't this go to special election anyway to fill this? Because the fact that it's an executive position that is democratically filled, while Chief Justice Wu was democratically elected for Chief Justice, that is a different position than secretary. And if we don't do a special election, we're now going to have an empty Chief Justice position. Therefore, if you do a special election instead of this appointing, you can fill both positions at once in an election. And yes, that is another election that is a bit annoying, but line until like Monday. That's when the email came out, is I guess what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is, like, so we could easily reach the numbers to get 5% to do the election. I just feel like that's kind of better to stay true to our democratic principles.
All right, so just for information when regarding the policy side of things, it's kind of in a gray point where it says they can be either a special election or appointed, and when it then refers to appointment policy, and appointment policy is within election policy, which refers back to contracts, which refers back to itself. So it's not really clear. Senator Candela. Yes. It's a point of question, point of clarity, whatever you want.
Sorry, I was just calling to question the...
calling to question.
Yeah, calling to question.
Motion to call to question on the resolution. Is there a second? Seeing none, that motion dies. Chief Justice Wu.
I'll keep this quick because we have 3 minutes left. Everyone has been complaining about the minutes being wrong, the agendas being like something going on with them, right? I've heard lots of talk, and I think that I love my boy Chris, but he can't be here. He can't be in person at the meetings. He lives 5 hours away. And if you go into election policy it's around page 83 of the policies and procedures, acting executive officer appointment says any vacant executive position can be temporarily filled via a nomination by the executive board, followed by a 2/3 confirmation by the Senate. That is all.
All right, Senator Velez.
To suspend House rules where it says open forum can't be pushed later than 1:55 and pushing open forum later to 2 p.m.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Candela. Into discussion of suspending House rules on that specific point. Is there any discussion? Our advisor Wadsworth.
Space, you only have it until about 2:30 to get cleanup for media. So you really can't, or you can. I wouldn't recommend it because, again, you only have this room reserved till about 2:30, and a lot of students will have class. And I do believe we also have a couple of swear-ins, so I'm going to yield.
Our audience member.
We newly elected senators should be sworn in. I know I have nothing after 2 p.m., but I can't say for the rest of us, of the rest of the senators. So it's we kind of need to be sworn in this week. Otherwise, if you don't get sworn in this week, it's just going to be Matt as the only senator.
Senator Cortez. We have a motion to call to question, second by Senator Velez. All right. All those in favor of suspending House rules, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that dies. 1, 3, 2. We are now in open forum. All right, could everyone in today, the senators that I mentioned earlier, please come to the center of the horseshoe. Yeah, we've just been using that. They're up.
All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Will faithfully uphold the student government of Utica Constitution and carry out the duties of state your organization and position to the best of my ability and will represent the students of SUNY Poly in a fair and unbiased manner. Thank you.
What's your name? You were elected.
This is new for me, the business casual thing, and we talked about last semester. I just wanted to make sure that as somebody who is part of a minority religion on campus who has to sometimes wear specific clothing as part of my religion, that I will be allowed to, even if it does not meet the standards of business casual, because it's religiously required. I just wanted to make sure it's not going to be a problem.
So business casual applies to the horseshoe.
I'm a senator.
Are you going to be a senator?
I was just
Oh,
up here
okay.
to sign in, and I
Completely
just...
my fault. My fault. We can discuss it. We can discuss it later. Yeah.
Okay.
It against for what you're wearing if it's part of your belief system. That's pretty cut and dry, so I yield.
Could I ask the Senate to motion to open discussion on Senate Resolution 2526-02?
Sorry.
Because technically, the people who just got elected would be the new Senate, and the people who wouldn't be the old Senate wouldn't be here anymore.
We're going to keep until the end of the meeting.
Okay.
So is there a so heard? So heard by Senator Candela. Is there a second? Seeing... Point of information, the audience member asked to reopen discussion on Resolution 2526-01. Filling SGU secretary position.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Chair, but I was asking not to reopen, but to open discussion on
Yeah.
2526-02.
Oh, 02. Apologies. The motion is to open discussion on Resolution 2526-02. Is there a so heard? So heard by Senator Candela. Is there a second? Second by Senator Velez. We're now in the discussion of Resolution 2526-02.
Be a vote on that to open it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So we're in the vote now. Sorry, I apologize. It's yes. So all those in favor of reopening the resolution, please raise your hand. All those opposed. All those who abstain. That does not pass. 1 for, and then 2 for 2 missing. All right, we're back into open forum. Is there any further discussion for open forum? Senator Fisher.
Motion to
Adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, seconded by Senator Cortez. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. All those who oppose? We're going to redo that. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain? That passes 3-2-0. 3-2-1, my bad. We're now adjourned.